I'm Jenny and I organise the Neonatal Charity Ball with Lindsay.
I first got involved with the organisation of last year's charity ball. It was something I quite wanted to get involved with, having had my son on the unit 2.5 years ago now.
This year's our 5th year, so I've been doing it for 5 years, since Annie was born in 2008.
As a parent, I think you, having been through the experience, you know how important it is, the little things that make a difference for you. And you feel so grateful for all of the support and help that you've had during the time on the unit that I really wanted to give something back.
After having Annie, we had Annie in March, and in the summer I just had an idea that I wanted to go to a ball. We were sat around having dinner with friends and looked for a ball to go to, couldn't find one, and so I thought I would organise my own and do it for charity for the neonatal units, because having had 2 premature babies on the unit, it was a cause that was really close to our hearts, and we really wanted to give something back to support other families that were going through the same thing that we'd been through, and to say thank you to the doctors and nurses for literally saving our babies' lives.
We're always amazed every year, especially when times are quite difficult for businesses, that people are still generous with their donations, and it feels like it's a cause that people really want to get behind, especially with it being a local charity.
So it's not just the big things that are important like equipment, it's the little things as well, like tea bags, books to read for parents, people to volunteer to go and spend some time with them, chat with the parents that are on the unit at the time, so that they feel that they've got a bit of a break from the unit.
Very quickly the reality sort of soon hits you of actually what it's like to have a premature baby. Initially I think we thought the doctors were perhaps quite negative and not really very cheery, because they didn't appear to have very good news for us whenever we went down, and I think we soon found out that's because there actually wasn't an awful lot of good news in those first few days. So we had a very rocky time, probably for the first sort of 3 days. After that he seemed to pick up a little bit. Then he came down with quite a bad tummy infection, which really just knocked him for 6. And he unfortunately had to have surgery as a result of that. So overall he was in the neonatal unit for about 3 months, about 2 months in City and about a month at the Queen's Medical Centre.
Annie was born at 35 weeks gestation, which actually, as premature babies go, is pretty good, and we thought we'd be having her that day and everything would be fine, in a couple of days we'd be going home. But unfortunately that wasn't the case. Actually she was really poorly. It was really touch and go.
I think it's a very difficult environment for a parent to be in, just to spend all day next to your baby in an incubator is quite hard, and especially you do feel quite helpless, and that you don't feel like you can make an awful lot of difference, and just having those spaces where you can just be able to just have a little bit of time out away from the incubator and just sit down in comfortable surroundings.
So at home now we have a fairly normal family life, and I could never have imagined that it would be that way when I think back to how it was when both of them were born, and they were so poorly, so fragile, and just remembering back to the unit what it was like, the beeps of the monitors when I visit the unit, it's quite an eerie kind of sound, and all the wires that were keeping them alive. And every day was such a roller coaster. You could take 2 steps forwards but always know that you were balancing on that edge, that it could all just change just like that, and you could take 10 steps backwards. It was a scary, bumpy, emotional ride.
Raz, I'm from the Curry Lounge, and I got invited by Jenny and Lindsay a couple of years ago to get involved in the Neo Charity Ball, which we did with a raffle prize. But since then, my interest has more got involved in finding out what they do. So this year we're more involved with the ball organisation and ultimately trying to raise the profile of the unit and what the neonatal unit does. So I didn't really know what they did before. We know that they look after premature babies, but that's as much as I know. And I know Lindsay and Jenny have got personal experience having gone through the care they provide. But for me, it was just more about finding out what they do and why people like myself and the people in the audience today should be really helping these people to raise some more money and what the invaluable job the unit does.
The reason I like working on the unit, on the neonatal unit, there are a variety of reasons, but you know, I love the care and the relationship you have with the parents and the families and the babies, and it is such a precious moment to have this baby here with us and to care for it when it's so sick, and it's such a vulnerable time for parents and for staff as well, for junior staff. And then at the end of the journey, you get to say, Mum and Dad, you can take this baby home. You can be that family that you never think when you first come through. There's always that, are we going to make this? Is this baby going to get where we want it to be? There's always that journey, and it's always that hope. The hope's always there, but there's a little bit of you behind you going, you might not make it, baby, you might not get here. So to get to the end and go, yes, we did that. We have all done this on this unit and helped the parents and got their family unit. That is just priceless. The most vulnerable time for our babies, we have kind of like a golden 24 hours, you know, or even a golden hour, that first hour. There is so much going on with that baby. There are so many things we have to do and interfere with this child to get it in a stable position, to be in a stable condition. So you're always watching, and it starts for an hour, then it's 6 hours, then it's 12 hours, then it's 24, and we're going all past the 48 hour stage. Our golden period is coming to an end. What's going to happen now? So you're always watching and waiting, you know, and the journey is just a series of roller coasters. It's never stable. And every journey a baby goes on is different. Every set of parents, every family that's there, they're going through a different emotional time and vulnerable. They are so vulnerable and so needing our support and our help and things like that. Not a great place to be, but it's great to be able to care and to have that knowledge and that experience to do that job.
With regards to bereavement and dealing with babies who are dying on the unit, we have memory boxes which we give out to each family, and we collect things like footprints, handprints, etc., which go into the memory boxes. And charities normally are very generous and give us those. We don't often have to buy them.
Went into labour and then had Ashley, my baby, and she was fine. She never had to have any help with her breathing or anything, so they put her on me, but then they said we'll have to take her to neonatal just to make sure that, you know, everything's working right. So that was it, she was took away. So yes, it was very hard just having a baby and not having her there at the side of you like I have experience with my other children.
Dexter was born the early hours of Sunday morning, and it was an emergency C-section, and what we found was on birth he'd swallowed a lot of meconium, which is amniotic fluid with obviously mestin, and that caused his lungs to somewhat collapse due to him inhaling them but can't exhale them, so his lungs had sort of burst. So both lungs. They did a cracking job in Derby. You know, it was not looking very good at the time, and gradually, you know, the team worked really hard. cracking team, and they called in another team from Nottingham with this special gas that they use, which he responded to within 20 minutes. From then he got transferred over from the Royal over to here, and very smooth transition, and he's gradually starting to make a recovery.
But the staff, the nurses and everybody was fantastic. They all kind of kept us updated, as soon as Ashley went up to the neonatal. They kept coming down and saying she's doing brilliant, she's not having any help, she's just having to be in the intensive care unit to be monitored. So they were fantastic. They kept us updated all the time, and then they eventually, after a few hours, wheeled me up so I could see her. But then and then I had to go back down again. So no, it was very, very mixed emotions at that point.
To see Dexter on the unit for the first time was first time was at the Royal, and it was difficult. I mean, it's as difficult whether you see him at the Royal or the City or wherever. It's a feeling of for me it was either it's the not living bit, the not being here bit, not knowing. It's that bit that's the heart tearing bit. It's tough. It's tough for parents because you can't sort of hold him, or you can't grab, you can't comfort him in any way. Yes, it's one of the hardest things I've ever had. I've had some challenging times throughout my life, but this got to pretty much beats all of them.
So they were very reassuring, basically, and I think that's what got me through, and my husband. But then I had to go back down to my ward, and it was really hard because all the other ladies had their babies on the ward, and I hadn't got Ashley with me. So that was heart-wrenching. So I had to keep asking them to wheel me back up because I couldn't walk at that point. So yeah, and they were brilliant. They kept taking me up whenever I needed to go up to see her, which, I could have just stayed there all night, but I couldn't.
The team on the unit were, I can't begin to describe. If we start off with the small things, things like cups of tea and coffee, hugs, tissues, biscuits, slices of toast, moving you to different rooms. That's the bit, like the caring bit for the parents. The team on each unit, at the City, the Royal, they just, I can't thank them enough. At the moment, it's brilliant what they do. I mentioned earlier that you see footballers on these ridiculous wages, and it's true, these guys don't get paid half as much as what they should do for what they do.
I want to give them everything because they've helped you, and they've made your baby better, and that's what I think I would be thinking when I leave here. I just want to probably do charity fundraising and things like that to help raise money to keep the unit going and to keep it as good as it is, because the staff are fantastic.
When your child is faced with a problem that, let's say, you need a certain machine, or for instance Derby has not got the nitric oxide that Dexter needed, they are getting it but they haven't got it yet. It draws up such a sort of a fret in your mind that they've not got this piece of machinery. I wish I'd got the money that I could just buy this piece of machinery. And again, I revert back to what I said about when you've not been through it, it's okay because you don't, what you don't know, you don't know. But when you are in that situation, you could literally, you could spend any amount of money to try and get that piece of machinery to make it right. So people wanting to make a difference, even little things, even a few £100 or £50 for just to supply the canteen with tea for a month or however long it is. It's huge difference. Anything goes a long way. But as I mentioned, it's the smaller things that contribute as well as the big things. I mean, the only thing is the guys are going to be sat there at the ball, probably listening to me speak, and I imagine some will have tears because some will have been through a similar thing. So you guys will know what I'm going through. This place is incredible. I can't tell you how this is. I mean, it's life changing in one breath, but also these guys know exactly what they're doing, and please just show your support.
I arrived this morning largely as a result of me appearing on Secret Millionaire, looking for charities and projects to get involved in, and I'm leaving the neonatal unit now at the City Hospital, really understanding what they do, and it shocks me that in this day and age that we go through life. I'm a dad myself. You plan the birth, you paint the nursery, you get the clothes, and you get ready for that joyous occasion of bringing the baby home. But the people I've met today have had that taken away from them, and they don't get that interaction with the baby for the first couple of days because they've been born early, and worst case scenario that they may never have that. But what strikes me is how vulnerable they are in an environment that could be very scary, and not knowing what's happening to their child, panicking, being scared. But the people here, the staff, the nurses, the doctors, are genuinely give a hoot. They're not just doing it for a job. They genuinely care about that child and making sure that child survives.
It's a big team effort running a charity ball, and genuinely I'm grateful for everybody that's made a contribution, whether that be words of support, donations to the auction, to the raffle, coming along tonight and buying a ticket, having a game on the casino, buying something in the auction, all the celebrities that have supported us with their kind words, Mark Dennison for hosting the evening as well. It really is a big team effort, and we could not do it without everybody.
I think that the impact to have those things around them has got to be able to reduce their stress, their anxieties, to be wondering how they're going to do this, how they're going to sort it out, and they can just focus on caring for their baby, caring for the needs of their child to make them better. So they're relaxed, therefore it comes across. It comes across to the staff, it comes across to the baby. That when they're putting their hands on the baby, if all these things are going through their minds, they're not focusing on caring for their baby. So if we could take away some of that anxiety and stress, then it would relieve it for the